Speaking on community service and volunteering and stuff like that, what are your thoughts on like CSF or NHS, which are like
Ooh.
California Scholarship Federation and then National Honor Society, which are like two organizations that really like they really advertise themselves as like, yeah, we're gonna do volunteering and we're making an impact on the community and we look good on a college app. But then you talk to anyone who's in it and they're like, it's resume fodder. It is resume fodder.
One of us has done them, one of us has not. So
I'm in thespians. I'm in CSF. I almost applied to NHS, but then decided against it. So yeah, and I was talking to people who do like event coordinators or people who are like the president, and they're like, it just takes up so much time, and kind of like, and for what, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like there might be more merit if you're in a leadership position. But like, what are your guys' take on CSF and NHS and stuff like that?
So me personally, I'm the vice president of NHS.
Didn't even know.
No. But like, you know what? Let me speak into it. I would say that a lot of people in CSF and NHS, especially at OSHED, they already have outside organizations that they're already volunteering in. And for us, I would say it's kind of giving for the event coordinators. They would, collab with like different clubs, different organizations outside, and then give volunteering opportunities for students that would like to like explore more in the volunteering world. But if I really had like, if there was like a question, was like, does it really impact your college applications? Short answer, no. I would say it's more of like a marker that it kind of shows that you were involved in community service because you have to meet like a minimum amount of points or like credits for the semester. But just because you did NHS isn't equivalent to that you're a really big part or like a very big member in your community through volunteering.
It's just like a line or like a data point.
It can be
doesn't show like your actual like personal involvement with it.
Right. It can also be pretty unfocused too in terms of like what you're serving your community in, like environmental or donation or like cleanups, whatever.
So for people that already have like outside organizations that they're already volunteering for, I wouldn't say that CSF or NHS is completely necessary. Especially because for like board members and for the regular members too, it takes up some time. But then if you just don't know where to start in terms of like looking for volunteer opportunities, try it, and then through like the different organizations that they like partner up with, try to follow up with them if that's like an organization that you're really into, and then start building a relationship with them and then continue it outside. You don't really have to do it through CSF or NHS.
And what would you say like the difference in value is, considering that you've had a leadership position in for how long, just this year or for the last few years?
Last year I was secretary, this year I'm vice president.
So what would you say the difference in value is between just being like a normal member and having a leadership position in it? Because there definitely has to be some sort of like difference there.
Yeah, I would say just being a board member or just like being a member, it's more of a marker that you're part of your community, you're volunteering, and you're just a big member in that kind of sense. I would say a board member, it's more of like a leadership position within a school. So rather than just having a leadership position in these volunteering organizations, it's more like, where would you be, this is kind of mean, but where would you be ranked within your school in terms of leadership positions? So it's not like, if you're a president of NHS, you're like the best volunteer in our school. It's not like that. It's more like within these like a lot of people, a lot of great students that are part of this club, where would you lie?
I see.
I mean, it's also kind of like if there are like 50 NHS members and you're the president, like you're like you're not 50, you're the one, it's kind of different. I mean, especially like CSF has an extremely large body of students here, so being like an event coordinator or like being the president has a little bit more merit because you kind of stand out behind the wash of students who also
implies CSF. Like there's more responsibility as there's more
I've heard it's a pretty big time commitment because you have to go to all the events, you have to organize all the events. And I know with CSF they have like a quota, like they have to reach a certain amount of events every year.
For NHS too.
Yeah, I'd say from a perspective of a member. So from like 9th to like mid 10th grade, I gotta be honest, that was like the only community service on my application, NHS and CSF, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I don't really have to worry about that. But yeah, no, NHS and CSF definitely are not impressive or notable in your application. Because it is really easy to actually stay a member. Like
really
there is a quota, but like the quota is not hard to reach.
But that might
And-
only be for OSHA.
True. Okay.
That's true.
All right. Caveat. This is only potentially only for OSHA. And maybe then because of that, like the AOs, admissions officers might see NHS and CSF more highly because of that. Because they might think it takes more of a time commitment.
Yeah. Maybe the application.
Sometimes we get that benefit at OSHA that like
Yeah.
things look a lot harder than they do, but like things are a little bit easier at our school. Like I feel like APs are a little bit easier.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they also kind of, like, I think the whole thing with the applications now is they're kind of grading you on the backdrop of your school, right? So it's like, where do you rank in your school? What does this look like here? And stuff like
You
that.
took 6 APs, but like so did 100 other kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't know how hard Johnson's chemistry is.
Honors
They'll never know. If I get a
Put
B
it in
in
your essay, they'll understand.
Johnson's a really hard teacher. She gave me a B. But
Yeah. But I'd say because I think the reason why CSF and NHS aren't really impactful, even like whether or not you're at OSHA, is because as a member, at least for a member, you're just attending these events not for the purpose of serving, but for the purpose of filling a quota.
Yeah.
Right. You're like the entire purpose of serving and serving your community is to understand the importance of service. Right. There's a reason why college applications and AOs prioritize community service as a really big part of the application, because as a human being, as a civilian of this earth, right? In order to leave a legacy, in order to serve, in order to make an impact on your community, you have to serve, right? Yeah. And serving is a really good quality, it's a really good trait, right? Because if you don't serve, it's like selfish, I guess, in a sense. But there's also like other benefits to it, right? And you don't really understand that by just being a member of CSF and NHS, because as a member, CHS, Chinese Honor Society, honor societies. But like as a member, like you just attend the events, do the work, not for like the service, but for the quota.
They are not serving.
Yeah, it's not the purpose itself isn't righteous.
Yeah. How did you like prioritize your stuff, you know? Because it's kind of like you can apply to a million things, but it's just about like picking and choosing. I mean, like I know so many people spend a lot of money and time on like, let's say like pre-college institutes, right? Like the UCLA summer programs
I've heard that they're very much money makers for the colleges.
That's right.
They are not giving you any.
But they're kind of advertised as like, oh, it's great for your college application, right? So it's like, how did you like prioritize and like choose the extracurriculars that you felt would give you the most on your application?
Kind of not get fooled at the same time.
Don't fall for it.
There's so many organizations that like want to see like these rising juniors and seniors and are like, please come and do our thing. Like we want to be able to say that there were like these really good accomplished students that did it, and like how did you not really get fooled into doing some of those things?
Yeah.
I think real quick, biggest rule of thumb with that is if they're telling you to pay like thousands of dollars for it, then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So like for the pre-college institutes, you're paying $1,000 for like rooming and board and just to take a class that you could take at IBC or a community college, right? So with that, that's like my main rule of thumb. Like if you see a program that like looks really cool on like an ad, right, and it's like, oh, we pay like $5,000 for it, right? That's not really impressive, and I suggest you spend more time working on your own passion projects or something that you actually want to do. Yeah. But if a program is paying you to do something, like that is good. So, for example, DKF.
Not all.
Well, okay. Let me. Okay, well, DKF, for example, they pay you $5,000 for your project to start it, right?
Yeah.
That on paper, there's a reason why DKF also like on paper is also good too, right?
Yeah.
Because of that.
And it's pretty competitive.
Young Arts too. They fully fund your trip to Miami, Florida.
And mine too. It's completely tuition free.
Yeah. So those are those programs, and also like when you like do research in like your field of interest, like whether it's science or humanities or whatever, there are certain programs, certain opportunities that you'll see online that are like a lot of students who got into these top universities did. And there's a reason why they did them, because they're really competitive, but they're actually helpful. Right, and there's a reason why they have that name brand, because they're actually helpful. Yeah, right.
And there's a reason they're competitive is because they're actually helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like some programs, like they have like that nominal like interest, right? But they aren't helpful at all, right? But sometimes there is a reason why they're nominally popular. Yeah.
I mean, so like sometimes the value literally just lies in like the money. Like, are you spending money to go and do this thing? Are you not spending any money, or are you even getting like paid? Are you like getting a net value, like profit,
net positive
doing this extracurricular?
Yeah.